Hello, welcome to the Free Cheese episode 388. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Mark Augustiniak.
What's up?
Matt Sellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. Update from last week, I got Taco Bell. It did not suck. It was not ruined. However, I did not get the classic toys featuring Nacho and Cat. But who knows? There may be... I think that's what their names were.
I thought it was Nacho and Dog.
You were right. Nacho and Dog. Nacho is the cat. So I knew I was saying it wrong. It's been a week. How are you two doing? Mark Augustiniak, tell me, if you were going to make a fighting game, which TV show would you base it off of?
Cartoon or live?
Dealer's choice, man. The question is your answer.
Full House.
Matt Sellner, if you were going to make a fighting game, which fast food restaurant mascots would you incorporate?
Oh, the McDonald's family. That's easy.
Have you ever played Treasureland for the Sega Genesis by...
I certainly did not.
Treasure. It's a good game, surprisingly. Like, for all of those bad 90s mascot platformers, McDonald's Treasureland. Check it out when you get a chance. Not bad. Good music. Actually, I'm gonna put a little reminder. We're gonna slap the music in at the break later on, so stay tuned for that. How are you all doing this here, episode 388? We got a lot of stuff this week.
Doing good. Feeling fancy.
Fancy.
Fancy pantsy.
That was a wrong word to say, actually. I was trying to make a pun with Fancy Feast.
I get it. Just cat.
Right, but it didn't. Nope. Doing good. How are you?
Yeah, I guess I'm alright. I don't know what the heck's going on, man. We're making it, right?
Yeah.
Nintendo's making it. In fact, they're making it again by bringing the Wii U's greatest hits, Super Mario 3D World, adding in Bowser's Fury, and dropping it on the Nintendo Switch as of this past Friday. I was going to call it Novembuary. That's what I thought this month was. February 12th is release date. You guys have both been playing some Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, is that correct?
I don't know how much Mark played, but I played a little bit of just the 3D World.
So, historically speaking, you never played 3D World on Wii U, Matt. Mark, you played a good bit of it?
I played a little bit of 3D World on Wii U. I don't think I've ever owned it, but I've played it. Kind of opposite with Matt with this one. I've played a tiny bit of 3D World just to, dip my toes, but I've been playing more Bowser's Fury than anything.
All right, so let's jump into 3D World. Matt, you first time jumping through this one. How do you like it so far?
I like it. I actually kind of like the idea of like a traditional like Super Mario World layout in a 3D world. I think it lets you get a little bit more creative in the levels without having to worry about it being open world or anything like that, or having to go into the same space for like 15 different stars or something like that, like you see in 64 or Galaxy or anything like that. So at first, another one of those Wii U games that have passed me by and I heard good things about. So I'm happy that I was able to pick this up. I kind of wasn't, because it was on the Wii U and I never want to touch a Wii U game in my life. I didn't really know much about it. I didn't know what was the level select thing. I just assumed it was another like Mario game. You run around. There's a hub world, you run into portraits or whatever it is this time around, and you go. But no, I really like the it's the World 1-1, World 1-2, World 2-1, all that stuff. And then there are the optional. Well, I guess they're not optional because you're gonna need them to get into the Bowser's castles. But like you go around and you just, it's not just like completing the course, because completing the course is like the family friendly part of like a Mario difficulty, but acquiring all the stars is where like the challenge is, and like you trying to outthink the level. And there were so many times, or even like when I was playing it, like Victoria was next to me for a little bit of it, and like I would just know to climb a certain wall that was off camera just because I just 3D World instinct kind of like kicked in, and she was like, "How did you know to do that?" Like, that's just years of doing it, but like that's where I kind of realized the difficulty, right? Like the veterans know where to get that star at or know where to look. The other part of difficulty, like you can still progress through the game just fine, but you're not going to get the completionist stuff that I'm like not aiming for, but like if I can get it, I'm going to retry a level and get it. So I really like the how it's just World 1-1, World 1-2, or the top down, or I guess more isometric view of you running through. I like how it's all open so you can interact with some stuff. There's some optional, like the Toad houses give you all kinds of power ups. There was like a casino lottery thing that kept popped up one time to try to get me some coins for all these 1-ups. The live system with the coins, I don't know why, like I'm just bringing back flashes of Crash Bandicoot, and for some reason now the first thing I do is run towards the camera whenever I start any level now in a Mario game because of Crash Bandicoot, and looking for like a box that's like at the very beginning of the level. So I think it's an enjoyable game. I can't say like how great it is. I'm only in like the middle of World 2, but from what I played of it, I liked it a lot. I like how each world, they're going to change up the thing. Like I can see the third world in the distance. It looks like an ice world. I'm in a desert world right now, so I don't know. I think I kind of like the shorter, compact 3D levels that make it like a stage-based thing instead of what feels like, they are open world games, but they feel a little bit more like condensed, and I think that's not a bad thing for a Mario game.
It's really funny, or I think interesting hearing your perspective on it coming at it from this angle, because I remember when I got my 3DS before the Wii U, but 3DS, the first thing I bought was 3D Land, so when 3D World came into the picture, to me it felt like, oh, they were able to take the 3D Land concept, blow it up into something bigger, and add multiplayer to it. But hearing you come at it from, oh, this is more like a traditional, you know what I mean? Like looking at it from that perspective, I think I went into it negatively almost in a way, or like looking at it as like less than what it was, where you're seeing it for, I think, what it could be. How do you like the cat suit?
I think it's OP as hell. I'm just like running around, just like hitting everything. Like, and then, Victoria, she's a cat person. She's loving it. She loves when Mario yells meow at the end of these stages when I'm still in the cat suit. Like it's.
So is she playing it with you, or are you just playing solo?
We're not playing. I'm playing a solo right now, but I think she's like a little captivated by it. So we might hop in together at some point, sooner rather than later. But she was like. Anyway, the cat suit is just OP as hell. I'm just climbing walls, no problem. I'm defeating enemies, no problem. Like I usually like the sunflower stuff in Mario games. I always feel like that's OP. In this game, I feel like it's far less powerful than the cat suit because I'm just running around as a cat, just clawing things. I think it's pretty OP if you can hang on to a cat suit and also have one as a spare.
Yeah. Have you run into the cherry doubler yet?
Ooh, I don't think so. It does not sound familiar.
I will leave you to your discovery.
Okay. So I do have a quick question. There is a mini game with Captain Toad. Is that what a Captain Toad game is?
That Captain Toad thing in that game was when you were playing on Wii U. I don't know how they do it on Switch. I'm actually curious. But on Wii U, you would actually remove your attention from the main screen and play on the gamepad. And then they made that its own game and made, a whole bunch of levels for it. But how is it on Switch? Is it just, I assume it's all on screen, but...
Yeah, it's right joystick rotates the whole map, and then left is to move. And that's like the extent of it.
He's pretty limited in the main release for that too.
But I thought that was...
Interestingly enough, so you mentioned Super Mario 3D World you appreciate because it's not open. It is just kind of on a flat grid. You're jumping in level by level. But Bowser's Fury, from my understanding, is kind of quite the opposite. You kind of just stumble into the new levels as you're wandering on a big open plain. Is that right?
Yeah. So the stages are kind of all like little islands. And the whole goal is to get cat shines, to go to a lighthouse, and that will kind of that will help open up more opportunities. So, how does it start? So, like, obviously, they pull you through the tutorial, not really tutorial, but just kind of introduce you to what this whole thing is. I don't think it's going to be a long game either, as long as the actual 3D world, just judging by the map. But, you know, you will run into, I forget the type of Bowser that he is, like his actual name, but that Fury Bowser. Yeah,
I'll look it up.
You will deal with that periodically, and it does give you time to, like, kind of prepare, because it starts raining, and then after a couple seconds, he will appear. And sometimes you do need him to destroy only blocks he can destroy to get to certain cat shines on, like, some islands and stuff, too, so that's a neat little thing. You can't exactly look up like you would in a 3D Mario. Everything is still kind of like down-ish. It's just one giant Mario 3D World stage, but the more you do, the more things pop up. So, like, you think you're done with an island, and then you get more cat shines, and then you might fight Bowser a couple times, but then that island will add new obstacles to it for you to get new cat shines within that place until it's completely finished. You'll know you completely finished an island when you get all 5 cat shines for that island's lighthouse, and then a flag will go above the lighthouse. So you have to do that for, like, each place, and then every time you fight Bowser in your big kaiju cat Mario, or you don't actually have to be in the cat suit. You can Mario's still big. If you get hit, you lose your cat ability. You're still a giant Mario, like, running around.
Oh, wow.
Like, even if Mario got hit and he shrinks, he's still a big Mario. Just
a big, tiny Mario. Yeah, the picture of Mario makes it look a little supersonic-y.
You're not moving fast. It's like the opposite. You actually move a lot slower.
Hair and tail.
Yeah, it's all the same abilities. You're just bigger for the most part, and yeah.
So, do you feel like Bowser's Fury, gameplay-wise, like, feels like a natural evolution of Mario 3D World's gameplay? Like, do you feel like it's more of a challenge where someone who hadn't played through probably should wet their lips? Yeah, that's you should wet your lips on Mario 3D World. Yeah.
I think 3D World is a good introduction to how to play Bowser's Fury, but you could also, I think it's vice versa, honestly. They do a good job. The only real difference is, unless I'm wrong, with 3D World, but when you collect power-ups, it's all in this little menu in the lower left, and you can hold up to 5 of each power-up, and you just hit up on the D-pad, and you can switch between them at any point. You don't have to worry about...
In Bowser's Fury, or is that in both?
I don't know if that's in both.
You only have the one slot in 3D World. It's like traditional Super Mario Land where you have the thing and you can drop at any point.
Okay.
Yeah, this is like all of them. Like Boomerang, Fire, Cat, Lucky Cat, Tanuki. I think that's all of them.
What's Lucky Cat?
It's basically the same thing as Cat, except when you do a ground pound, you turn into a statue. And you can just hold that when you land. And I guess that's like your defense in a way. Like,
okay. So it's kind of like Tanuki.
I was going to say, it's the JRPG luck build of Mario.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because the Tanuki, I think, in this doesn't even have that stone form. And if it does, I don't know how to do it. But so you have all that, and that's cool. They're very generous with power-ups. The mushroom, obviously. And every 100 coins gives you a power-up. Yeah, I think that's... So there is, like, an incentive to collect coins. It's not, like, overburdened in these levels either. Like, everything is pretty... It's pretty neat. There's just, like, little... There's always, like, some weird little, like, mini game or gimmick in between to get, like, cat shines and all that, too. You get the... What's that character's name? The the freaking sea creature, the Loch Ness monster type thing that you can ride on. It's like an orange dinosaur.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's knock off Yoshi.
Lippy.
That sounds right.
Actually,
No, I made that up. I have
but it
no
sounds
idea.
surprisingly
But,
close
like,
because
that
I
sound-
rode him in a world last night.
But like, yeah, like Lippy sounds like a Mario character though.
I'm stuck on Lippy.
What
right
your
now.
lips,
That's
Lippy?
I don't know what I'm doing.
But you can ride him around between the islands and everything. And whenever you do beat Bowser, it seems like every time you fight him, he has a different he adds a different gimmick to what he can do in order to like beat him, and that unlocks more islands. So I finished the main area for the most part, but I unlocked an ice portion and what looks like a lava version, and I only just touched some of the ice stuff for like the cat shines. But after the lava thing opened up, that map pretty much was like almost complete. I just have to like discover a couple things, and then there's the centerpiece that is completely black in the middle of the map. And I was like, I'm guessing that's the final
Sure.
portion after you do everything.
Hyrule Castle.
Yeah.
I have a couple
It's
of
not
questions
that
about
big.
both games. So for Bowser's Fury, are you able to? Because I know you're collecting the different shines throughout, right?
Mhm.
If you miss one and you move into a different area, how easy is it just to kind of like walk back in and go explore to find one of the ones you missed? Is it seamless, or do you have to wait for loading? Or
Oh, it's seamless.
okay,
I think they expect you not to find everything because like
Yeah.
as they're talking, they're like, hey, you can go explore new places and try to find cat shines that way, because in order to use the Giga Cat Bell or whatever, you need a certain number of cat shines to use it, and every time you use it, the number goes up. So like first you need 5, then you need 10, 15, 20.
Right.
And
and
so
is it the
that
same for 3D World? Like, do you feel like you're able to? I know it's still from a main map kind of thing, but Matt, do you feel like you're able to jump in quickly enough? That I ask because New Super Mario Brothers U was atrocious. Where if you failed, or if you just wanted to go back to another level and try and 100% it, maybe get a coin you missed, it just felt like an eternity waiting for that loading into the level, and it turned me off from actively wanting to play.
Loading times aren't bad. And this is even coming from me, like with PS5 and Xbox Series X loading times. So like the fact that I even notice it is still, I think, pretty good on loading times. I would say the thing that's going to be annoying is if you want to make that trek all the way back through the world. I think that will take longer than the than the actual loading times.
Okay, cool.
Plessy is the name of that.
Plessy. I knew it was
that name was
something.
always in my head, but I just wasn't sure if that was right. But yeah, Bowser's Fury has like an autosave thing.
Cool.
So,
and
and
as you're like walking in and out, it'll save your progress, kind of stuff.
like yeah, you can quit at any point, jump right back in, no problem, and it'll be like right where you left off.
Yeah, and then in 3D World, if you die, like as long like it puts you either right back at the beginning or at the checkpoint flag. There's usually one of them in every level.
Nice. I guess my final question about this collection here is: do I need to buy it? Because I had it pre-ordered up until like I think they charge you for pre-orders in the eShop like 2 or like noon on the week before. So I think at like 9 a.m. On the 5th, I was like, I'm gonna wait, and I canceled it. But only because 1, I didn't know if I would jump in and play it, and 2, I have the Wii U version that I never finished. So I was like, do I need to spend another $60 on this? But I trust you guys. Do I need to spend another $60 on this?
Well, I would say with 3D World, if you already have on the Wii U, and I know you used to have your Wii U hooked up, I would play it on that because there is those segments of the game that require you to use the gyro scope to like interact with blocks to like pull them out to jump on them. And I'm not very good with that stuff. If I had any option, I would turn it off. I think it's going to be easier on a Wii U to do that.
Interesting.
At least on 3D World. Now, I guess Bowser's Fury is the new part of this, so that's probably the deciding factor.
Right.
Oh yeah. So with Bowser's Fury, when you have Bowser Jr. with you, you can, if you're playing by yourself, you can choose how much you want him to assist you, whether it's a little bit, a lot, or none at all. And I'm Pro Controller, game docked. you have to use the Pro Controller to like point somewhere. Like you tap R, a little cursor will appear like a little dot, and then you point at the thing for him to interact with, and you hit R for him to go do thing. But he's come in handy to like hit enemies that I couldn't run to, because if there's like a timer, like if I hit like a like a P button, I have to like defeat enemies within a certain amount of time. I'll go over and like jump on an enemy or two, and then I'll just assign him to like go attack whatever's nearby, and that's like awesome. That's cool. Yeah. But like aiming isn't too terrible. That's like the most that you use in that game, I guess, as far as gyro goes.
Huh.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have even anticipated that would be in there, but I guess
I will say I tried Bowser's Fury originally handheld, and it doesn't run the greatest. It's like the frame rate definitely dips. Yeah. Especially when it rains, you can notice it more. But docked, it's like perfect for the most part.
Okay.
Like it runs
I found some
flawless.
framey areas in 3D World, and I played docked the entire time. Not many, but there was a couple where I noticed a drop.
Are we feeling a little bit of Doug Bowser's Fury with not getting an upgraded Switch model? Is that what's happening?
Maybe.
No, all right.
I don't know. I think we're just used to just Mario just performing. Like, I feel like this is easily like patchable. Like, and like I said, it doesn't even affect gameplay. It's not like I'm dropping to 15 frames and I can't move.
No,
it's like
no.
It's like a 25-20 dip. Like, it's not that bad.
The fact that you didn't open up the conversation by saying this game runs poor, it's none of that. And I think we're all accustomed to an occasional dip. I don't know. I might wait. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. We'll see how the weekend goes. I got a 4-day weekend now, so I'm,
If anything, I'm excited maybe to look at Captain Toad at some point later in the future. Like, I play one of those levels, I was like, oh, this is fun. I like this.
Yeah, I think that scratches a good itch for you.
If you get Captain Toad, like the actual like standalone game, like on Switch, it treats it as if it is like a Wii U gamepad or a DS, where like all the icons are like take up the whole screen to like, so when you have to like turn a wheel or something, it's like this whole big ass thing. I'm like, you don't need to do this. It doesn't need to be here. It's like straight up port. They didn't try anything.
Well, there it is. Any final word on Mario 3D World or Bowser's Fury?
I think, yeah, like for 3D World, I mean, I know what that game is, and I do enjoy that style of Mario compared to new Super Mario Brothers, especially like if co-op ever became like an option or like a way to play for anyone. I think it's more tolerable in 3D World. I don't know about 4 players, but I always struggled with new Super Mario Brothers when it came to co-op, but I feel like 3D World is built more around it, and even more so with Bowser's Fury. If someone is to be Bowser Jr., I'm sure that's a cool time. I wish that portion could have been online, but I understand why it's not. That's fine. It's just a minor nitpicky thing, but Bowser's Fury seems like a good evolution if they were to do another, like, I don't want to say like a large scale Mario game, but like if they had something like in between like your Odysseys and Galaxies and whatever, they could make something like this. I like the seamlessness and the way you have power-ups just ready. Everything just feels more convenient, and they took like tricks from a 3D Mario platformer, like doing like a side somersault and like the backflip and all that stuff. I think it's cool to kind of have that blend.
We'll see how the future goes. But I'm curious to see how you guys continue with each and hear more about them. I continued over and over again, as I think the two of you also have, with some Loop Hero after our discussion last week. Look, if Mark didn't sell you on Loop Hero last week, just stop not listening and go get it. The demo's out. I think I got the demo and bought it all at the same time. And I honestly found, I don't want to reiterate too much what Mark said last week or retread the same stuff in terms of like what you're doing or anything like that, but I found that there's so much to do even in the demo alone. The tail end of the work week got a little heavy, but the beginning of the week, I was literally like ending my day over here, turning off my work computer, spinning to the left, firing up the Loop Hero demo, and like I'd play it for like an hour or so before I did, the evening routine, cooking and all that crap. But like it just became like, okay, let's jump in, let's do an hour, let's do a run, right? Like let's just get a solid pass through. And I got to the point where I was able to install all of the fixtures that you have available to you in the demo in terms of like upgrading your village or whatever. And I upgraded one of them once, and I added a second farm. So I got everything kind of in there. So I'm at the point now where like my characters are earning stat points, or not stat point. Yeah, stat point. Yeah, stat points that you can apply to those like upgrades. Got the blacksmith where I now have different weapon options, like all of that stuff. Like there's a lot to this game, and then peeking ahead at kind of what the upgrade path looks like for your character and for the town. Like this game seems like it has depth to it, and I'm really, really intrigued by it. I want to let Matt talk because I don't want to keep going forever, but I loved that as Matt and I started stepping into it, the three of us sharing notes and comparing like what we've been doing, like we each had completely different approaches in some ways, but all of them are completely valid. And I was eager to try what you guys were trying to see how it played out. Like there's just, I'm going to say that for the listener who I'm just kind of speaking in whatever terms, like we talked about how, you equip different gear. So, your gear that you equip might give you a specific amount of regeneration for your health, or you might have vampirism. So every time you hit something, you are healing, or, evasion, right? Like you're just completely avoiding being hit at all. And like all of that stuff, like we each kind of tried different builds throughout the week and tried different approaches, and it's so cool. It's super cool. It like Loop Hero so far is the one to beat, I think.
Oh yeah, I definitely kind of am feeling that early just through a demo, which is bizarre. But that's how much of the demo is available. It's not just a level. You pretty much can set up your entire like camp for beyond. It's funny. Last summer, Joe coined, or I don't know if he coined it, but something that stuck with me through the summer was the coffee game.
Yeah.
This is the perfect coffee game. However, what happened was I brewed the coffee, I launched the game, and then 77 minutes later, I realized, oh shit, I never actually grabbed my coffee because I was so like just attached to what was going on. And I think that speaks a lot that I forgot to grab a drink because it was crazy.
It's that loop though, man. Like, because you just get hooked in watching like everything that happens. Like, how's it going to play out? How's it going to play out? How am I going to fix this? And then it reaches back to the campfire, and you're like, okay, now how's it going to play? And you just keep going.
It's kind of weird. Like, it scratches the auto chess itch in a weird way. Like, of just like it's automated, but you're controlling so much of it at the same time. And then like it's like, all right, well, the round has happened, and then. All right, can I get through to the bonfire? Okay, I survived. Now it's the next round. And how do I stage like the new cards that I've gotten, the new stats, and all the new builds and stuff like that? It's a weird comparison, but like when I first fired this up, it reminded me of that for some reason, and I don't know why. Besides what I just said,
that makes a lot of sense. I hadn't made that comparison, but now that you are, like, yeah, it's because you're in control, but you're not, right? Like. You're just kind of hoping you made the right call and that everything plays out the way you want it to, or maybe better than, but you don't know. And there's that element of surprise that helps.
And then the card system, I think that makes the repetitiveness of a roguelike like this go away. Because when you think of like Rogue Legacy, right? Like, okay, you can get a new family tree build that has something goofy or something OP or whatever. And then the castle changes a little bit, but it's still the same sections of the castle. You got the same bosses and the same enemy types, and it's just they're in different places. With this, I mean, the circle changes, yes, whatever. It's just a shape, though. But you bringing in cards, and then you putting them in certain places can really change that. And yeah, you're kind of building from scratch. I mean, at least where I'm at, I guess with new campground power-ups, like you can kind of get different starts with stats, but like, yeah, you kind of build your way around, but the way you put down your cards, the way the RNG goes, and then I think the other thing that this game does well is like usually in games like this, I kind of want to stay away from like the weirder hard enemies, like the blood clot things that are popping up. When you put too many, I think, of the burial ground sites together. I'm sorry, I haven't played this since last Sunday, so forgive me if I messed up a card, but like they look like they're tough enemies, and the way the cards say about that enemy, it seems tough. But like if you go to it and like you might get some story kind of thing out of it, and then use that back at the campground or use that as a new power up or something like that. So when you see something new, like crawling around, you kind of get excited. Like you don't know if you can face it, but you get excited at the possibilities that happen. And I think that's a really, once again, another clever mechanic on getting you not to be scared of the board that you created.
I think that, yeah, you brought up two really, really good points about this game. Is like, I think the surprise of combining things on the map and seeing what happens, like, there's incentives, right? So you get a mountain or a rock card, and you are incentivized to put them near one another, because the more adjacent rocks and mountains, the more benefits you have to your health regeneration each day. But after you put 9 of them together, it transforms into a harpy bed, right? And it's like, oh, okay. And there's more and more of that. And there's those little things where like, now we're swapping tips, or I don't know if I've reciprocated that, but at least Mark started that conversation of like, have you tried doing this yet? You know what I mean? Like there's little like hints of like, oh, what's going to happen if I put the burial ground near the cemetery? What's going to happen if I do this? What's, you know, those types of things. And the other thing you bring up too is something I've been noticing. We'll talk Castlevania later on, but I've been playing a lot of different Castlevania games lately. And something I realized literally last night is I love playing through a Castlevania game that has enemies I don't recognize, because I want to see how they react, right? Like there's certain games that I play where I'm not excited when I see a new enemy. I'm just like, let me get through this. Where in a Castlevania game, when I see something new for the first time, I'm like, what do you do? You know, I am getting that in Loop Hero a lot. Like every time there's something new, I'm like, oh, who are you? You know, and the story beats help, where like they actually talk to you. Like the vampire's like, I don't want to eat you, man, but I got to. Sorry, dude, I got nothing else. You know, and he says it way cooler and darker than that, listener. I don't want you to think that it's lame. Like
with some cool art too. When he's like threatening, that art is real good.
Yes, yeah. The artist on this is great. Everything about this game is just so cool. It's just really, really good.
My favorite thing is it's like it tests like the gambling side of you as well. Like you keep seeing that enemy meter go up, and like, can I do another loop? Will I get something better if I do this? Like, do I? Or should like, and then like if you start it, you're like, shit, am I gonna make it to this bonfire? I need to leave like immediately.
It sucks that because I think you mentioned you don't think you can beat the Lich in this demo. So now I'm kind of
okay.
I have to force myself out.
I'm only not sure because of how limited you are with what you can upgrade and what you can get as a resource. So that also stops you. But I'm pretty sure they've been secretly updating the demo.
They totally have, dude. Like something good.
And I haven't gone back since they did that. But I saw like I had to update that demo like 2 or 3 times already.
Yeah, I think there's some changes that have been happening under the hood. So this game is awesome. Like, do not sleep on Loop Hero. Please play Loop Hero. At least try the demo. It's doing things I didn't think it would do or that I wanted in a game. And like, I don't know. There's something really special about this one. 2021, right? Who would have thought?
Hey, it's a new game, right? It's not a remake. We're off to a good start.
Yeah, hey, so far, right? We'll see how 2021 shakes out. But I guess the ESA is also seeing how 2021 shakes out. According to Video Games Chronicle this week, E3 2021 pitch documents have been sent to games publishers and seen by Video Games Chronicle. The ESA has now outlined its proposals for this year's event, which would see 3 days of live-streamed coverage held during the previously announced dates of June 15th to 17th. The intention is to hold multiple 2-hour keynote sessions from various games partners, have an awards show, a June 14th preview night, and other smaller streams from games publishers, influencers, and media partners. The idea is that they would be streaming, I think the schedule broke down that it'd be 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern all day. supplemented by media previews the week before, demos, released on consumer platforms. I think I had read that they want to be able to do like one-on-one demo sessions with, just regular old dongs who connect and want to play a demo, as if you were at the show floor, but do it remotely. VGC Video Games Chronicle reached out to Jeff Keighley, who had quit the show last year, citing disagreement over direction, and then launched his own Summer Game Fest. Keighley confirmed to them over a private message that the event would return this year, Summer Game Fest, and he would not be involved with E3, whatever plans they go forward with. There's some other stuff floating around about this, but where do you guys land on E3? Did we prove last year that we don't need it?
Yeah, I think companies realize they don't need it either. I'd be curious though to see how many come back. If enough come back, I can see E3 having kind of a little lift in its wings here, a little upward momentum, because the last few years, even before last year's pandemic cancellation, you just kind of saw the signs of it just decline in momentum. I'm curious to see how many participants we have this time around, and if they said about having the 2-hour keynote sessions from games partners, are they going to be like Microsoft? Are they going to be these little collaborative things, like a PC gaming show type thing? So I'm just it's what are you going to see?
Mark, do you think that we need E3?
Overall, I don't think we need it. But maybe it's a good way to attract maybe some companies that don't have any other opportunities that they just can't see in order to advertise or show off something. I don't know, or that's probably just wishful thinking on my end more than anything. But no,
I don't think that's wrong, right? I think there are a lot of things that happen by people physically being in that space together.
We're not going to have a Konami Direct, right? But maybe if they know that this is coming around, they're like, oh, I know E3, I remember that. Maybe somebody higher up will maybe that's hey, here's our ticket, we want to come back, this is how we announced we're coming back. But and then I woke up with tears in my eyes and my bed was soaked.
Yeah, but also then it's the question of does Konami need something like this, or could Konami just stream out on a Tuesday morning?
Right. Because we don't want them showing another TurboGrafx Mini at E3 and that's it. And it's
I don't know though, man. I was real excited to get that TurboGrafx Mini after the fact. But yeah, when they said we're ready to show off a new thing, I'm like,
yeah. I think E3 does set up a lot for expectations. I think that's the trade-off.
Do you think it's a bad thing or a good thing? Expectation.
I think it's a case by case.
Yeah.
I think to the general public, you don't really have a pulse on the industry or what's going on. I could see it being exciting, but everyone else, I feel will just be cautiously optimistic or extremely burnt and numb.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, whenever I think about E3 and the things that I enjoy about it, this is it. It's the fact that there's 6 conferences in the course of 3 days, and I know what days they are, so I can take off of work. That's all I need E3 for. I
need it to be a consolidated event, and obviously excluding pandemic and whatever nightmare we're living through. I liked E3 for the idea that we knew that together, and
early
together
June
has transformed through the years, right? We've had people come and go and whatever, but together, we've been able to sit down and watch it, hang out, grill some hamburgers, drink some pussy, and you know what I mean? I know that's still, it's been a while since we've said that one out loud, but you gotta wet your lips somehow.
Man.
Yeah.
If anybody just doesn't know
I know
what any of that meant, I'm not explaining it.
Should we? All right, yeah, well, yeah, you can bing that. So I miss E3 for that, and I would like to see E3 in that regard. But, I think last year, I'd be curious in normal circumstances where I don't wear sweatpants every day and we see each other physically more frequently than never. Do we need E3, or would this be a thing? Like last year, we hung out a lot on Discord for all of those events, which is obviously a different feeling and a different whatever, but like, would we have all gotten together as frequently as we did last year? You know what I mean? Like those, hey, it's July 40th. Do you guys want to come over and watch this Xbox thing for an hour? And then after the fact, we're all disappointed, so we just kind of stand in my kitchen and hum and then leave. Like, I don't know what that is. I don't.
Do you think that like the pressure of E3 would make these presentations like try to be something like imagine if Halo Infinite was being shown at E3 last year? Do you think it would have looked the way that it did, or would they have tried to put more effort into just making that E3 demo more than the game itself?
I think you would have got the same thing. I mean, the vertical slice thing. I mean, that's just development hell. And then, think of when that was in the calendar year, right? That was after companies kind of already had adjusted and pivoted and probably got through the growing pains, or at least most of them, at that point. Like, if that was in June, that was even earlier. So I don't know. It might have even been worse at that point, just because of the way the calendar falls. But I don't know. I don't think like the event has too much to do with what that looks like, more so than just the timing and things like that.
Right. It probably just would have created more stress.
Probably.
Around.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people being kind of forced to change work and things like that was and I think for E3 as well, I think for the ESA, having COVID as an excuse to cancel E3 was the best thing that could have happened to them last year, because if you recall, Keighley didn't pull out because he was like, I don't know about this COVID stuff. He pulled out because they were going in a weird direction with E3. And then right before they canceled it because of COVID, I Am 8-Bit was meant to be with E3. And they were like, nah, we're good. And they backed out. So,
also, like, there's a whole, like, hacking, leaking file stuff.
That was the thing before where, like, they did not have secure whatever. So there was a lot of... distrust from the media and participants there. Then they're opening it up as more of a public show, and then what are you doing with that? So I don't know.
If anything, E3 is the only way to get a guaranteed direct now from Nintendo, because now that everyone is doing their own versions, Nintendo's kind of backed off from doing them. They're just like, we'll just put out stuff whenever. And it's like, for those who are still
we didn't even get one from them last June. Nintendo, from what I remember, we got a Thursday morning tweet announcing Paper Mario, and that it was like 12 weeks out or so.
Did they do like an indie showcase like back to back or something?
They did something back then, and then somewhere
it was the minis, right? They did the minis back to back. It was like a 10-minute direct. Yeah, and then we did get a lot of like those third-party showcases from them and whatever. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, we'll find out from E3. The ESA obviously didn't officially announce this. This kind of came from stuff that the VGC had seen. However, ESA responded and said, like, we're excited to share with you the future of what E3 is soon. New Game Plus Expo 2021, however, was announced. A collaboration of video game publishers from around the world is planning to host its second digital showcase of upcoming titles, updates, and special guest appearances. That'll be March 4th at 11 a.m. So far announced to be streaming live on Twitch. The following publishers have confirmed their participations. Axis Games, Arc System Works America, Gung Ho Online Entertainment America, Idea Factory International, Inti Creates, Koei Tecmo America, Natsume Incorporated, NIS America, or NIS America, Playism, and PM Studios. If that's not enough for you, Sonic Revolution has announced its 7th event, its second going all digital, taking place June 19th and 20th, 2021. Guests announced so far are notable names who've worked on the IDW comic book series for Sonic the Hedgehog and the Sonic Boom TV show. This is not an official Sega event, but this is the 30th anniversary of Sonic. So, with names like they've announced for that, I would expect some like nice interviews, things behind the scenes, etc. I'm also curious to see how Sega shows off whatever it plans to show, because we never really got that anniversary announcement last year that we were meant to get at South by Southwest. So we will see. And then this one's actually coming up pretty soon, February 21st. That's next Sunday. Let's see. This will be happening about midnight for us, because it's February 21st at 2 p.m. Japan time, which would be midnight for us, Saturday and a Sunday. The Japan Fighting Game Publishers Roundtable #2. Arc System Works, Arica, Bandai Namco, Capcom, and SNK will host the second Japan Fighting Game Publishers Roundtable live stream. You'll be able to watch it in English on Twitch and in Japanese on the Arc System Works, Capcom Fighters, and Tekken YouTube channels. That's exciting. I like me some fighting video games. So seeing everything kind of come together like this, I don't know, nice consolidated shotgun blast. I'd be okay with more Japanese fighting game publisher roundtables throughout the year. We don't need E3. Just give me these.
I think this is also when the Street Fighter 5 stuff drops too.
It does. Yeah, that happened this week. I didn't pull it all the way into news, but we've got some new stuff for Street Fighter 5. Dan is coming out on February 21st as playable, part of the existing season pass. I don't know if I have that, because I did that upgrade at some point for the latest whatever Street Fighter 5 thing they did, and I don't know if that included Dan and all of those folks or not. They showed off, or kind of talked a little bit about Poison joining later on this year. Is it Poison?
I think it's Rose.
Rose, that's it. Jeez. And then talked about the just kind of the future of Street Fighter 5. They're adding in a new V system.
Yeah, there's like a new mechanic where like you can slow down, and like that gives you time to like back out of getting punished by like a special or something. So it has like its own little gauge and everything too.
Yeah, I like that they are actively trying to, change that game up 5 years later. It's, they could have not done that and they could have moved on to the next thing. But it's intriguing that they're continuing. I know there were some rumors and talks that there was meant to be a new Capcom Fighter this fall. Do you think that's still happening, even with all this 5 stuff happening, or is this buying them time?
Oh, it's like a whole new game?
The talk was, if you recall, when Ono left Capcom last year, or announced that he was leaving. I don't know if he's actually left yet, but he had announced that he was leaving. Right around that time, there were a lot of rumors that he had been overseeing Street Fighter 6, and it was a shift in what they were doing or something like that, and it was meant to launch with the PS5 and Xbox Series S and X, and it wasn't going the way that they thought or something, so now he's leaving the project, someone else is taking over, something like that. I vaguely remember a little bit of that story, but do you think that 5 can sustain another year or two, or do you think it's kind of like on its way out?
Well, Dan is like the beginning of this new character pack, right? Like this next season or whatever?
Yeah, because this is the one that's adding the girl from Rival Schools.
Right. And they still haven't announced like their final character yet of that whole pack. So I'm thinking maybe at this event, this Japan fighting thing, they could announce that character there. I don't know, but I could see them writing out the rest of this year for Street Fighter 5 and then shifting focus. I don't think they want to really take that away just yet.
Yeah.
Also, another thing is like, why would you want to launch a fighting game which like is very like convention, like tournament heavy camaraderie? Like, I don't know why you would want to do that in the middle of the pandemic when you launch it and you start having all these tournaments. Like, and the Capcom Cup is like it's like a legit thing they do. Like, I don't know. I just feel like a fighting game at this point right now is for like the main players is not a good thing.
I think it's a really good point. I think it's a point where last year Arc System put out that Grand Blue Fantasy Versus game and it kind of didn't stick like they probably could have had it gone through the tournament racket, right? I think a lot of those games get blown up with, you're watching them at EVO. There was no EVO last year for a number of reasons, but not having that there, I think that hurt a game like that. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Like, if they are planning in the fall, I mean, we don't know, man. We have no idea. But I guess the hope is that by the fall of this year, we can maybe start being more regularly around one another. So maybe there would be a shift in that. But yeah, I think that's a really good point. I hadn't considered it. So this might be, they might have the good excuse, like, to take some more time, polish it, right? Like keep working on it. Yeah. We don't need to launch it right now. More on that next week. I guess we'll catch up on that. No, we won't. Well, we will, because we're actually recording late next week, so we should actually be able to cover that before podcast. So fighting games abound. Now, this is not necessarily a fighting game, but Matt, you have been moving your way across the screen in electric fashion. I don't know. You've been playing some Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance.
Yeah, this is the Metal Gear game that has gotten away that I did not let get away. I'll just survive at that. But yeah, Wario64 tweeted that this game was $5 on Xbox Live, and I was like looking for something weird to play, and I was like, this is it. This is the time. And yeah, man, this game is kick ass. I don't know why I let this go for so long to not come back to it. But man, like, it's so weird, Platinum and Metal Gear, and I kind of already wish there was a sequel to this game, because it is just, like, incredibly fun to run around and just hack down cyborgs and Metal Gears and all the familiar Metal Gears I've seen over the years. And I can't, it's very, the color palette is very, like, just orange and gray, and I think that's just a symptom of the time it came out in. Which is now 2 generations ago. Weird to think about, yeah. And
it was 2013 when that one came out, or 2012? When was that?
I don't remember the exact year.
It was late in that generation, but it was, yeah.
And then at that, like, it kind of has the same visual style that Metal Gear Solid 4 had. Like I said, I think it's just like character, it's just a product of the time and the
that
franchise.
era was all just brown and gray, and yeah.
So, but no, when you actually kind of like jump into the gameplay of this is like really well done. I like the fact that there's not a block button in this game. It reminds me of like Sekiro combat, where like you want to like lean into parrying and kind of be on top of all that and using your sub weapons to get an edge on an opponent or help bring them down to a level. And I think one of the things this game does so well is like, no matter how big the opponent, you still feel like the best fighter on the battlefield, which is really weird when, like, in the first, like, 30 minutes of this game, you're battling a Metal Gear Ray, which you might remember from Metal Gear Solid 2. And, yeah, it's an epic boss battle that has different sequences and segments, but yeah, it just ends with you pretty much just cutting the Ray in half after disarming it, like, twice. So it's just wild how you kind of feel powerful when there's like 2 attack helicopters shooting at you, missiles at you, and all this stuff. But no, you just jump and slash at it, and you just end up breaking it that way. Like, it's so weird. Like the combat has very like beat 'em up style, like mixing into heavy attacks, light attacks for different combos. There's even a combo menu, and I believe you can unlock even more combos or skill based like things with your combos as you keep going along. And like and like some kind of shop, which in Metal Gear Solid 4 it was called Drebin points to upgrade all this stuff, and this one is BP. I don't know if that means battle points or whatever, but it's the currency they use in this game. And yeah, you get upgrades for both like your sword, your armor, and different like movesets, like I just said. I think the really cool thing, I think Mark talked about this when he talked about it on air. I don't even know how long ago that was now, but like the blade mode where you kind of, if your action meter is like all the way full, you can slow down time and just slash through everyone and just cut them into pieces, and the amount of physics that you can create just off that is wild. There is a whole thing to that as well. Like if you slash them at the correct spot, you can take like the nano, I forget, like the fox die equivalent of like just cyborg blood or whatever, and just do that to heal yourself. There's something they said about taking left arms from people. I have not I don't know if I'm just early on or I'm not doing it right. I'm not getting any feedback if I'm doing it right, but whatever. I'm still having fun trying to cut off someone's left hand. I don't know, Mark, if you know something a little bit more about that than I do.
I only know because of other people playing. I didn't know that when I was playing it, or I just didn't like pay attention to like the dialogue or something.
Yeah, that wasn't a cutscene.
I think I think you have to add like the joint of the arm, and then like that becomes like its own item that you can pick up. And I forget what it's for or what it goes to when you like get so many.
Yeah,
do you have like a fetish or something, or
no? One of the dudes on the team is saying like a lot of like the battle like analyst stuff that the cyborgs use is stored in the left arm. So if you bring so many left arms or collect so many left arms, it helps, I guess, maybe unlock more possibilities for upgrade trees or whatever. I don't know what the benefit of it is, and I don't know if I'm even collecting any because there's like no feedback. But yeah. But like the mix of that with the light and heavy attacks, the parry system, which then leads to opportunities where you'll get this like little frame that has like Japanese characters on it, and at that point it's this universal sign of like, all right, pull the trigger for the blade mode and just slash at this thing until it's like completely chopped up, and you move on. And like I said, I think one of the best things about this game is when you're like overwhelmed, you still feel like the most powerful person on the field because of your ninja run and how that lets you dodge bullets and things like that. And then when like a Metal Gear, the ones with like the weird jumping legs, I forget what they're called, when they go to kick you and you can parry it and then just kind of go on top of them and repeatedly stab their head. You just feel awesome. It's like it's got that, it's not Kojima, but it's still got that like flair of like the cinematography and the just the amount of like blood and cyborg juice that's coming out. All this is like it's satisfying as hell. Almost like Sekiro, like when you do like the death slash and you just see the blood just spray everywhere. It's like almost as satisfying as that.
Are you getting? I've been playing a bunch of Castlevania Bloodlines this week, and I'm getting like Bloodlines is one I've never played, so there's a lot of it that's like exciting to me, and I'm like, you know what I mean? Like you're discovering a part of your past that you already know, because you know, like I know enough about Castlevania that like it's not new, but it is brand new, right? Like, are you feeling that going through this? Because it's obviously it's different gameplay wise than a traditional Metal Gear, but do you feel like you're, I don't know, unlocking something or?
No, I just think I really think that this is a clever opportunity for this franchise. Like, you know, like there's all kinds of ways you can go with it. Like it's, you know, as core, you know, you play some version of Snake, whether it's Big Boss, Solid Snake, whatever, but like you play some version of Snake and you sneak around a base. But they could have easily pivoted this franchise in any other direction besides Survive. But like, you know, it could have been a mech battler. This is awesome. Like all the cyborg stuff that you put into like, you know, that he used with Raiden and like in Metal Gear Solid 4, like that cyborg stuff like benefits this really well. I'm just happy to see like a new gameplay. Like as far as it fitting into the lore of Metal Gear, one, I think you can put anything in that Metal Gear lore and Kojima and make it nonsensical but make sense all at the same time, because that lore is fucking bewilderingly like dumb but great at the same time. But like a lot of the like there was one reference to I think stuff that happened in Metal Gear Solid 4. It was like in the opening cutscene, and it was even like since SOP shut down, and like that, like if you know what SOP is, great. If not, it's not going to be something that's going to prevent you from playing this game. But like I don't know, it's like I just like this weird branching out of this franchise in this way. Because I think it makes a lot of sense. It's a lot of fun to play, and I think with some like modern, like more like mechanics, like putting it into this in a sequel, I think you can make another hell of a game.
This was Platinum, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Have they done anything close to this since? Like I know there's been shades of, I mean, Metal Gear in other games, but
Nier, like it's the same, like it has the combo system, but it's not there. That's more like open world storytelling than this.
Yeah, some of the like cyber upgrade stuff you've been doing in Nier, you do in Nier, like kind of, the way you're like upgrading a computer in a way.
Yeah.
Did you ever finish this one, Mark?
No, I mean, I know like what happens, and I've seen it, and it's really cool. And my God, I just wanted to highlight the music because fucking Rules of Nature so good during these boss fights. Yeah, it's just insanity. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just a good insanity experience.
Oh, and
I should go back to it.
And the boss battles, like that. Like I said, this game stands out on its own, but like it has all like the iconic things that a Metal Gear game should have. Like it has all these weird bosses with the weird backstories. Like it encapsulates all that you expect in a Metal Gear game, but puts it in this new genre, and it still is just great.
Yeah, like it's able to be so grand and epic, like in terms of like proportions and with its story, not like, Reddit epic, but at the same time, it doesn't take itself seriously either, because like the way that the characters are, they're so, and like the lines they say and how they say them, it's just so cheesy and campy, but like
I love
hits
that
the sweet spot. Yeah, like it runs with it, and it's like it's so good because just how well that game plays, just everything, it could be anything, and I think it would feel okay.
We just talked.
I did
about
look
a game
up for the arms.
What about the arms?
Oh, like if you collect the arms, you get 2 types of an infinite wig. I guess a different type of hairstyle. I guess for Raiden, a different sword and an armor breaker thing. But
nice.
You just unlock them to buy them in the shop. It's nothing else. It's not mandatory.
There was something we talked about recently that was like a departure for the series, but still fit wholly well. What was that? I don't remember. I don't even remember who played it. Or I have no. Can you think of another example? I guess of a game like this that ended up still being super engaging and intriguing, although it was wildly different from.
I mean, oh man, like yes. Now I'm trying to remember what the hell it was.
I can't remember in the same franchise, but I go back to like Guerrilla, the developer known for Killzone first-person shooters, pivot into Horizon. That's a developer, not a franchise per se.
Oh man, Link's crossbow training is pretty top tier.
Yeah, that's not a bad example.
No, but for real, I think the way Mega Man handles its franchising games, usually each iteration is a different. For the most part, they usually add something different and change it up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm looking through our chat to see if it definitely wasn't Sonic Forces. I don't know. Well, I'm glad you're having fun with Metal Gear Rising and changing humanity. We'll talk a little bit more about the future of humanity or digital humans after this break. Until then, enjoy some sounds and songs from McDonald's Treasureland for the Sega Genesis. We'll see you on the other side. Matt, if you get tired of playing as Raiden and you want to instead and you instead want to make Raiden, the folks at Epic Games have announced a new Meta Human Creator, a cloud-streamed app that takes real-time digital human creation from weeks or even months to less than an hour. with what they're calling an unprecedented standard of quality, fidelity, and realism. And when your character is finished, you can export and download it rigged and ready to animate in Unreal Engine. The MetaHuman creator gives you fast, easy, scalable creation of digital humans of the highest possible quality. There's two that you can sample right now, or you can kind of see video of, but the actual program itself will be rolling out in early access in the next few months. You can register to be notified now if you'd like to be. What do you guys think of this? This is wild, and I think it's in the same way that tools like Unreal Engine, but also like Game Maker and other things have made it very accessible for people to get rolling with game creation in a way they couldn't before. I think it's gonna add a lot of possibility for people when they're making games. What do you guys think?
Yes. Like the first thing I thought of was Detroit Become Human.
Yeah,
that was like the first thing that came to mind. I guess just because of like what it is as well. Like it's very on par. But I think even games or not, I think this will open up a lot of opportunity for even just for like cinematic sequences as well. Like if you want to add cutscenes or like some weird like cool like intro to your game, like using this, I mean, I guess you could with anything really, but I feel like this might make it a little more approachable or a little more accessible, maybe not as strenuous. I'm not sure because it's already like rigged and everything, and I feel like rigging a model is half the battle, but I also don't know what I'm talking about when I say any of this because that is not my field.
From my understanding of all this stuff, I think you're on the money with it. And yeah, like that stuff, it might be easy to draw or paint it, but then yeah, figuring out which posable points make sense, that might be the difficult part. Or this allows people to not have to worry about those things. It's like any like math thing, right? Like you used to have to memorize all of these equations. Now you can just, as long as you know how they work and understand how to use an equation, you don't need to memorize the equation because you can look it up. You have resources. I think this is the same there. Matt, what do you think about this for the future of game creation or character creation?
I think it helps those super indie folks, like the ones like the 1 or 2 team, because it prevents them from one like having to hire and pay another dude, or like it just helps with that process. Like yeah, like you said, like they might be able to get it on paper, but then they don't know how to program it or draw it in whatever application, 3D drawing application. So it's going to really help them out in the near future to do like what Mark said, like get a cutscene in a game that might not otherwise have it, or do something, I don't know, just to do something different to stand out or whatever amongst all the other indie developers and things of that nature.
Also, I think like just character design in general will also like that might help with the process if you don't really want to focus on that, and maybe you want to, let's say you're making like a survival horror game and you just need like a group of people you don't want to spend too much time on. And so you can shift your focus onto other assets of that game. And I wonder how this could even do with creature designs. With like, if you were to make like a zombie or like a monster that's like humanoid or something, like how cool would that look? How grotesque can you make that? And will its rigging be any different or all that?
What I hope for in one day is like, you know, when the PC culture kind of like calms itself down. I hope that happens one day because we don't need it anymore. I just hope like when that game comes out and it's like, oh, why did you choose an African American female lead? And I just want the answer to be, I don't know. That's what the Epic random designer gave me. I don't know. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, it's just running with whatever.
So I just hit 2 buttons in Epic Games Unreal Engine, and it just gave me this.
The uncanny valley part of it is the scary part for me, where I'm like,
yeah,
how close do we start getting to those things, to creating like, have you guys ever been to, I think we've talked about it before, but this is not a person.com or whatever that
this person does not exist. I was just thinking about that. This is like that on a whole new level.
listeners, if you haven't been there right now, it's nothing inappropriate. Just go to thispersondoesnotexist.com, and they are not real people. They're computer generated, but they look like real faces.
It's really uncanny at first when you do look at it, but I think the difference here is with Unreal, at least the characters' glasses won't morph into their skin, and the collars on their shirts are actually clothing and not some weird looking organic material. Like the more you look at those photos on that website, the more you start to see what it can't process, and it kind of makes it freakier.
Hey, in a way. Yeah, that I kind of think of that when I think of this, and I think about the stuff we talked about a few weeks ago with Gabe Newell and brain-computer interfaces, and just where all this stuff is going or where it's not. I don't know, but maybe one day we'll end up in caves wondering what happened and have robot dinosaurs running around, like Horizon Zero Dawn, which this week Libsyn-based YouTuber Krizip, who also goes by Z-Worms Gaming. I love that we have to pronounce these things out loud. This is like part of regular life now, is saying people's. Anyway, they showed off this week that you can play Guerrilla Games' Horizon Zero Dawn with a display output of 128 by 72 pixels. The test was conducted to show that even budget graphics cards, like the NVIDIA GT 710 card used during this experiment, can run AAA games if the resolution is dropped to its lowest level. However, looking at it, I mean, yeah, you can run it, but would you really want to? This was spotted by The Verge, who added that the 128 by 72 resolution in context is actually a lot less than what a color graphing calculator like the TI-84 Plus CE, which outputs at 320 by 240. This is far less than that. So you might start going backwards and think, okay, well, maybe this 72p is closer to the GBA, but the GBA, which turns 20 this year, had a screen resolution of 240 by 160. So something like the TI-8E graphing calculators had a resolution of 96 by 64, so you're getting somewhere close. Do you think there's any other games that can run like this or should run like this? Is there anything that could benefit from running at a low resolution like this?
PUBG, so you can see the people trying to hide in a bush.
Right. I forgot about that whole mess of it. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know why I would want to look at a game like that. This is just a weird. The modern
I think
computer.
You could start to get somewhere interesting with it, where playing stuff now, playing 8-bit games, 16-bit games with CRT filters turned on that are done effectively to mimic what it was like to play on an old console and on a proper hardware. Ones that do it well. I think you could get to a point where someone could start to do something like this well enough to take modern tools and, like we talk about the MetaHuman creator, making it easier for someone to create a certain look for a person. You can make it easier for someone today to use some off-the-shelf tools and make a game look like a PS1 game or a Saturn game, which aesthetically is on the rise. We've seen it with a lot of the Puppet Combo stuff and some of that PS1 era. A lot of horror games are tapping back into those old styles now, so it's a small pocket of the indie community, but I think that, something like that could be, if you could effectively create a tool to de-res a game and add, I think there needs to be something more than just like bumping down the resolution to 72p. You need to add something to make it look more polygonal than it is, other than just like pixelated as this looked, but yeah.
I went the wrong way when buying new graphics cards. I should have went down. I don't know why you upgraded. You should have downgraded.
Should have went down to E-machines.
Oh man, can you run Horizon Zero Dawn on an E-machine?
John Lennon, let us know.
Yes, dear John. No stranger to buggy video games, ZeniMax Media still in the process of its total acquisition by Microsoft. We learned this week that legal documents indicate Microsoft intends to create a new, wholly owned subsidiary called Vault to complete the acquisition of ZeniMax Media. It's not clear if ZeniMax will be known as Vault after the deal closes or what that looks like, but it's something to do with documents that appeared on European Union law website Eurlex, which I read almost weekly now. But this refers to the logistics of the acquisition, mentioning that a merger pursuant to which a newly created Microsoft subsidiary Vault will be merged with and into ZeniMax. So, sure, there's something in the way that companies were registered in some whatever. This is all stuff that someone cares about, but I don't know that I have the mental capacity to track. However, what do you guys think of the idea of Microsoft Vault? Do you think this would be kind of... We learned that ZeniMax would be operating kind of autonomously from Microsoft. It's not going to be traditional in the other acquisitions they've done. Do you think that this becomes a brand new name within? Do you think that they retain the ZeniMax kind of... I don't know.
Maybe I'm on... Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say maybe instead of like doing like Microsoft Studios as like the publishing arm, maybe this like they say published by Vault or something like that.
Yeah. And then they start acquiring other things in that realm to fall under Vault.
Yeah, and then that is the stuff that gets published, to the other systems and PC. Well, I guess Microsoft and PC, but like Nintendo and Sony.
Sure.
So is Vault like it has nothing to do with specifically just like Bethesda or ZeniMax? It's just a...
That's a great question, Mark.
Yeah, because like the first thing I'm thinking of, it's making me feel like the Coalition. Because isn't that like a Gears reference? And now that's a studio that just only works on Gears games, I feel like. Like, what if the Vault is just like a branch of Bethesda that only works on Fallout games? Like, that's their
it
thing.
could be that piece where Vault will be that, and then they maybe absorb id and the other properties. You know what I mean? Like, maybe that's the way this goes. Like, some of that Bethesda-specific stuff falls under Vault, while others move more into the Microsoft realm of things. I don't know. That's, yeah.
No.
Or it could be a way, like Carpental. So, like, think of, like, what Shu used to do and what Herman Holst, right? Helst?
Yeah.
Yeah. What he does with the PlayStation Studios stuff, like, he goes around to the things, like, I don't know, I'm thinking Vault might take all that ZeniMax Studio stuff, so that way, like, they can kind of, like, have that person oversee that, and then the Microsoft Studios person, like the Phil, I don't know if Phil, but someone probably right underneath of Phil, like, kind of goes through all the different studios and stuff. Like,
yeah, Matt Booty.
Yeah, like, because they just acquired a whole AAA publishing branch that has, I think, like 8 studios at least in it.
Sure,
that's a lot of workload.
This acts to me like a separate Xbox, right? Like,
yeah.
Microsoft is overseeing
the Coalition, Ninja Theory, all those, right?
No, see, but I mean above that, right? Like, you've got Microsoft with a capital TM, and beneath that you have Xbox as its own arm. Maybe Vault is its own arm of Microsoft that's still games, but they now have 2 games divisions, right?
Yeah, and maybe, yeah.
And they also have their home networking, they have their whatever, they have all the other...
Windows.
Their Azure. Yeah. So, I don't know.
It seems like every time they acquire something, or they, in some way, they make a new name. Like, got rid of Bungie, but now we have 343.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know, like, well, Rare hasn't really changed, right? Like, that...
Name-wise, not that I know of.
Yeah.
But...
I don't know why my mind keeps going there. It keeps gravitating to, like... And that's another reference within... that thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see how that shakes out. I wonder if this is just like they couldn't wholly acquire them because of something, the way they're established in Europe, so now they're doing this so that it's,
That's what I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, Vault also sounds like a bridge, like, because like with how, like, with Game Pass and everything, I don't know how long they tend to keep calling everything Xbox. I don't know if that's going to be like a long permanent name.
Yeah.
But, like, as we're blurring the lines with console and PC, maybe Vault is more of like a neutral zone. I don't know.
It could be that. It could be like another thing I think of is this is a I don't know. Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's not to confuse branding, I feel.
Yeah, I don't know. Like this to me seems more like no, it's gone. It faded from my brain. I have no idea.
I mean, truthfully, I think it's something as simple as it's a loophole that Microsoft had to do to make the acquisition of this all possible, especially in Europe where they have, and the EU with all the different countries, that's a little bit more stricter, a little bit more tough to do than just in one country in America. Also, I think we have looser laws with that stuff too.
That's exactly where, that's what my brain was going. I was going down the monopoly line. I was thinking that maybe there are more laws in Europe to prevent monopoly in that kind of way. And if Microsoft already owns too many things, this could have fallen. It kind of goes back to like concerns we talked about last week of Embracer Group swallowing up all these things. And like, how many is too many? And maybe Microsoft is testing the limits of that. I don't know. We'll see.
I felt dumb for a second because I didn't realize it was strictly like a European thing.
Well, that's where the documents came from. Yeah.
But
I mean, it could be a thing that EU was cool with, but then for some reason America was like, well, you don't know about this, and you had to make this like legal loophole thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's the thing that top tier copyright and digital rights media lawyers have to deal with.
Well, we get to deal with an update to the Master Chief Collection. If all goes well, this is from a forum post on HaloWaypoint.com. They're doing early access rings 1 and 2, and if everything goes well on those, then they plan to roll out the next public flight as early as Thursday, February 18th. Some of the things they're hoping to include in the flight are a custom game browser. So it'll be a different way that you can kind of set up custom games and play with each other during multiplayer stuff. Season 6 content already being trickled in. A new map for Halo 3 from Halo Online. Field of view slider support for all Xbox One consoles and unlocking that field of view slider for Xbox Series X and S devices when they're set to 120 hertz. You can set double key bindings. They're adding mouse and keyboard support finally for consoles, which is wild that we're there. They're adding advanced audio options, and you'll be able to view model customization options. So all of that rolling out pretty soon here. Master Chief Collection, when's the last time you guys jumped in there?
Not since the Series X. I was kind of waiting for an update like this that... Yeah. I think I got the Series X and S enhancement, but I was kind of waiting to see a little bit more of what they could do. But this might be the thing that gets me in on console with the new Xbox.
Yeah, I'm getting a little excited about it. Mark, have you played any Halo-ish or Halo-related adjacent things recently?
No, I think the closest I did, I logged in a couple weeks ago to get a nameplate, and that's about it. Oh, no, update it to like the new season that dropped, and I think, just to mess around with whatever was going on.
Yeah, they've added some stuff for season 5. I know this month you can get a Black History Month nameplate. I think this weekend or somewhere around now, there's a Valentine's Day one if you want to get a little pink-hearted one. And then they're also this week, they kicked off the first in what I believe is to be an ongoing series of hashtag Ask343 videos on the Halo official YouTube channel. I watched through a good chunk of this. I did not finish it, to be honest. But I jotted down a couple of things that I found standing out from this Ask343 video. It's about a 25-minute video. The first in the series, the community manager talks with the lead of the sandbox team for Halo Infinite. So he answered a lot of questions regarding the sandbox nature of this video game, which I thought would be of your guys' interest, especially Matt, because I know that the open world of this game has been like your number one draw. But there's some cool gameplay hooks. So this is all answers based on questions that were asked. I'm just going to kind of bullet point some of the things I thought were neat that I picked up on, but this made me immediately think of Mark because I was already trying to think of what songs is Mark going to play as he pulls off a successful Banshee hijack with the grappling hook. But there were a lot of questions about the grappling hook and how you'll be able to use it in this open world. And one of them was, can you hijack a Banshee with this? And they said it takes skill to pull off, but if you can do it, you can totally grapple your way up to a Banshee and yank a fool out of the driver's seat and take it over in the air, which is awesome. You can also use the grappling hook to pick up weapons, both in the campaign and in multiplayer. So weapons or ammo, you can just, or health pickups, those types of things, just grapple hook, pull them over to you. That's kind of rad. They talked about new weapons will be added to the game throughout the life of it. So obviously they've talked about how this is not going to be a launch and done. They're going to continue to support this game for years to come. They want this to be the foundation for the future of Halo. They said that obviously they will kind of upgrade weapons over time, but the idea is that they're not going to make drastic changes to the feel of a weapon. So if it's a shotgun, it's always going to feel like, or I think the specific example he gave was the one battle rifle. It will always have a 3-burst fire. It will always feel this way. It'll always have this weight to it. It'll always be this. But what they might start changing as part of reaction to the meta is maybe damage gets bumped down a little bit or increased or things like that. But they're not going to change recoil. They're not going to change things like that. They are planning to add new weapons to continue to keep the game alive and make it interesting over time. They're also adding more effort into we'll come back to that one actually. The other piece of the weapons is they want to show how new weapons and the legacy of classic weapons fit into the sandbox nature of this game. They want to make sure that something like the Magnum feels like it did. The thing he pointed out, the sandbox team guy, and I didn't jot his name down, I'm sorry, but he wrote down that the Magnum specifically changed game to game, right? From Halo 1 to 2 to 3, like it always felt different. They want to be able to establish a base for what these games feel like in the world of Halo and stick with that. And then they're also exploring how that works in the open world nature. How do these things react with other weapons, with other weapon types? Because now they're adding another villain type or another creature type, so they're going to bring with them their own weapon types. And then lastly, the other big thing I thought was cool is that you can go back and you can pay close attention to the video, which I didn't notice this the first time around, or if I did, I don't remember if we talked about it. But if you watch, there's a grunt with plasma grenades who runs up toward a player driving a Warthog, and after the player drives into the grunt with the plasma grenades, the front tire is damaged. And he said that's something they're paying close attention to now is how do vehicles react to damage and not just kind of like degrade over time in the same patterns, but like, yes, if you shoot a tire, the tire will go out and the car will drive, or the Warthog will drive differently. Maybe you can take off a wing of a Banshee and fly still somewhat, but it won't just hard blow up in the sky, depending on where it's shot at. So, I don't know. There was a lot of interesting stuff, and I'm sure a lot that I missed, but that's available on the YouTube channel. What do you guys think about this? Mark, this grappling hook hijack, I saw like the immediate glow in your eyes as we talked about this. What are you imagining?
First thing, I wasn't thinking of a Banshee. I was thinking of a ghost. And if there is some form of co-op function in this, imagine one person speeding with a ghost the entire time, the other person skitching with the grappling hook. Or I'm wondering, can you access the grappling hook while you're on a vehicle? Like if I'm riding a mongoose, can I grapple hook something while on the mongoose? And if that's the case, yeah. Back to the ghost skitching situation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because we could probably, and I assume with the sandbox nature of this, we could probably do some weird, like, there were those artificial gates that would pop up where you couldn't fit a ghost through somewhere. But of course, we always found ways to do it. And I wonder how much the grappling hook opens up that. Matt, what do you think about weapons in the open world? Like, what's your approach to this? Like,
the base weapon, I think a lot of this comes a lot of these questions probably came from some of the other like shooters in the past year with like some imbalances and things like that. I'm thinking back to like the Warzone and like how they had to adjust the weapons on the fly with some patches because either one, the meta was like too swayed, or there's something that was just broken. I like the fact that they're probably not going to adjust too much, like with recoil and feel and all that. It's just going to be damage range, maybe accuracy, just a tiny bit, like that kind of stuff. I think the weapon stuff can be real easy depending on what the base weapon set, like adding in like a classic weapon from Halo 2 that's not in the base set in Infinite is super easy to do. I think as the game kind of goes on, creating new weapons, doing it, and maybe even in waves as well, like cycling out some weapons just to kind of keep the meta fresh would be nice. Yeah, I just don't want the new weapons from the new like enemy type to suck, like the what was it in 4?
Like all those Promethean weapons.
Yeah, they're not good. Or at least make them different to make them pack a punch. They just didn't hit hard. None of them hit hard.
No. Yeah. Still, I mean, last we heard, this is still on target for fall 2021. But yeah, I'm curious. I'd like some new Halo. We still have to finish 5 at some point, but I'm not like incredibly eager to finish that game. But yeah, we'll see. In the meantime, if you can't wait for Halo Infinite, maybe you'll be excited to hear that Fire and Ice is coming to the NES game collection on Nintendo Switch Online. And if Fire and Ice doesn't do it for you, perhaps Psycho Dream, Doomsday Warrior, and Prehistoric Man coming to the SNES store. I'm going to be... well, I know my answer to this question. For the two of you, have you heard of any of these 4 games before today?
I feel like I've heard Fire and Ice at some point. I'm not saying I know what it is, but I feel like I've heard that title tossed around at some point on a podcast once, whatever. I don't... Right. Maybe. That. Other than that, no. Could just be thinking of a song of Fire and Ice like Game of Thrones. That could also be it.
Or the Frank Frazetta movie, Fire and Ice.
Or that.
No, Doomsday Warrior sounds familiar to me before this. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have a decent knowledge of some weirder, older games, but none of these stand out to me that I remember. Looking at them, I'm like, oh, okay, that one kind of looks familiar, that kind of, but that's not to say that this is bad. I, in fact, like this, because I think that there are so many games when you go back through history that never got the attention. I mean, so fun fact for listeners out there, and you can do this too, the Video Game History Foundation does a subscription service where you can get sent old video game magazines once a month. And Mark and I both signed up and did it, and just got, from the year 2007, Nintendo Powers. I think mine's from October, and yours I think is from August. And looking at them, like, there's so many games in here, whether it's an ad or a review or whatever, like, I had no idea existed. And I feel like I was actively paying attention to this stuff at that point. So, I don't know if you guys know, there's a lot of video games out there. And so seeing stuff like this that I've never heard of for NES and SNES is, I think, I'm sure that when Nintendo tweeted out, hey, there's 4 more games coming, the first responses were, Earthbound when, or whatever garbage people say. I'm like, sick. I'm going to poke at these. They might be garbage. I don't know. They might not be fun at all, but I'm at least curious to see these, because I've played Earthbound. I've played Donkey Kong Country. You know what I mean? Like, I don't
know. Psycho Dream looked pretty cool.
It did, yeah.
Like that one grabbed my attention the most, I think. And
yeah,
Fire and Ice seemed pretty neat, too.
Yeah. I'm going to poke around. Those are out this week on the... I didn't write it down. 18th, I think.
That sounds right.
Something like that.
I feel like it's definitely next week or
17th.
this week.
I'm sorry. Yeah, February. I keep wanting to say it's November. Is it not November? Are we sure it's not November right now?
It's been November for 3 months, 4 months.
Okay, that's what I thought.
It goes September, October, November, or May.
Yeah, that checks out. This all makes sense to me. But yeah, what was that one? Psycho Dream, I don't believe has been released in the West until now, which is exciting. Things like this, like we just talked about that with the Fire Emblem 30th anniversary, like just something we never got here. And it's rough. It's not like a super approachable game, but it's cool that we get to at least see it and experience it for what it was. We will not, however, be seeing nor experiencing for what they were these apparent canceled Netflix shows. Okay, I'm just going to read through the story. I'm really bummed about this for a number of reasons. Nintendo, this comes from GameSpot. Nintendo was planning TV show adaptations for both Star Fox and The Legend of Zelda before a leak from Netflix forced the company to cancel both projects. Comedian and voice actor Adam Conover explained in a recently published video that back in 2015, Nintendo had contacted College Humor to create a stop-motion show based on Star Fox. Conover, who worked at the studio in the time, recalled asking to be in the office when Nintendo's Shigeru Miyamoto was visiting to discuss the project. Quote, at the same time, I worked at College Humor and we had a secret project where we were going to make a claymation version of Star Fox with Nintendo, Conover says. I know this because Shigeru Miyamoto came to our office and I remember that because I asked my boss if I could be in the office that day. He told me no, and I'm still mad at him. Conover goes on to reveal that a live-action adaptation of The Legend of Zelda was in the works at Netflix around the same time. This was eventually reported on by the Wall Street Journal, with Conover suggesting that Netflix leaked the information purposefully. This apparently scared Nintendo, who subsequently canceled both projects. Conover says, a month later, suddenly there were reports that Netflix wasn't going to do Legend of Zelda anymore. I was like, what happened? And then I heard from my boss that we weren't going to do Star Fox anymore. I thought that was weird, so I asked him what happened. He said, oh, someone at Netflix leaked the Legend of Zelda thing. Nintendo freaked out. I think the three of us have varied opinions of leaks in video game stuff, and the more time goes on, the less I care for leaks. But I also see both sides of it where there's the exciting part of it and there's the part where I like seeing stuff that we never would have seen, right? But also I think it sucks when someone's hard work and the plans they've had rolling out are all just dumped out by some dirtbag. I'm weird about it. You know what I mean? There's stuff that I think is cool when it's leaked because I think it's interesting to see how things work in that regard, and I think it's interesting to see where we never would have seen something else otherwise. But also, I hate when somebody rains on somebody's birthday cake. This, however, is a prime example of you jerks, you blew it, kid. We could have had. I don't know if I would have loved having a College Humor Star Fox claymation, but the fact that Nintendo wanted to do something with Star Fox is cool. And then this live action Zelda thing, I remember we talked about it on air a while back, but Mark, Star Fox and The Legend of Zelda, both TM top of the list franchises. How do you feel about either of these projects? Where they ended up? Where are you at?
So yeah, the leaking sucks. I think when it comes to any type of show or game, if something gets leaked before the announcement, it can it's a bummer. It is exciting, but at the monkey's paw at the same time, it's all right, now you're not as surprised or impacted when it actually happens. And so Nintendo is they take that stuff very, very I mean, as anyone should take it seriously, right?
Yeah.
But as for these projects, the claymation Star Fox is cool. I like that nod. They have worked with College Humor in the past for Dinosaur Office on the 3DS. They're little tiny short little claymation skits of two dinosaurs in a cubicle, and it was just like, it was just cute. Like it's fine. I don't know if I would have liked this, because I feel like the name College Humor doesn't have a good resonance with me, just as a brand. Because like it gives me vibes that I'm like, all right, this is going to be like watered down and too tongue in cheek, and they're trying too hard to be funny, and it's not going to be funny. And maybe it wouldn't be like that with this. Maybe they were just using just their animation side of it. Like maybe they didn't.
It could have been they worked with that, what you just talked about, and liked the work they did there. So it was like, hey, we want to do more with Star Fox. And
they probably could have been like maybe 5-minute episodes or something. Like I don't know how far they would have went with it. So it's like, I don't know. I'm iffy on it. It would have been cool to see, but I don't know if I would have loved it. Zelda live action, I honestly think we dodged a bullet. I think I would have hated that.
Yeah.
I don't think that is... I don't think we're there yet to recreate that or translate it well into a live action thing. I think it'd be better off as an anime or something like that, for the most part. I mean, who knows? Could be wrong. I would love to be proven wrong. I'm all for a live action Zelda, but I don't think Netflix is the right place for it, and to be working on it this long also kind of has me worried, because who knows if that project was being worked on the entire time, maybe had a hiatus. Like there would have been all this buzz around it that probably would have ruined it too. And, people wouldn't like casting, or they would nitpick it, and
sure,
it would just have this very bad, like, toxic energy going on around it, like the Zelda community already does with their games. I don't know if I would have wanted that in another format.
I can't picture a real human being wearing Link's costume and not looking ridiculous. But I also see Geralt in that Witcher, Henry Cavill, and I think he looks stupid too. So I don't know. But did you guys watch that Witcher show? Was it good?
I watched the first episode of it. It was fine. Me and Victoria were trying to watch it, and there was just too much that was going over her head already. So I just never went back to it myself.
Matt, that's everyone. They throw you into that show like in the middle of stuff, and they don't explain anything. You just go with it, and like they don't let you know when they're doing a time jump or a flashback or whatever. They just assume that when things are happening. So
yeah,
it definitely is hard to watch.
So the only thing I was able to kind of keep up with was the fact that I was fresh off Witcher 3 or right in the middle of it. So like some of that lore kind of already had caught up on because I played the third game of that series, and I was in it, literally just in it or in the middle of it. So I was like, I couldn't forget anything.
I liked Witcher overall in that series. I mean, it is hard to not see Henry Cavill, because that's just celebrity. That's just occupational hazard. It's hard to see the character. I don't know if they would have gotten like an A-lister or somebody that we would know for Link and Zelda, and like would that have ruined anything? Yeah, right. So it's like seeing something like that. It would have been better if I mean, maybe time will tell, but like if they had planned like a nobody and this is their first role, and it's like that could be something. Like there's always a way for it to work, and it's always going to be different than what we imagine. But I think this was probably for the best.
Could you imagine the audition for Link is just, can you? Yeah. Okay, you got it, kid. Because you don't need to talk. Cartoon, he doesn't need to talk.
He had an 80s cartoon. He had a personality, man. He was thirsty. He was just like sassy and thirsty.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if I still want to see. I feel like every week now we have a story about like Nintendo's properties outside of video games, and I'd still like to see what they could do translating some of these. I still think a Fire Emblem anime would be rad. I think a Kid Icarus movie would be awesome in that, like, blow out that animated style.
I want to see this Mario movie.
I do too. Is that still set for next year
or whatever? I don't even know. But I would love to see how they translate that and how they applied sense of humor to that. I think it'll
Get ready for hot memes from Grandma with Goombas
please.
all over the place. Do you remember that?
Replace minions with Goombas.
I know. Do you remember that IGN live action Zelda thing from 2007? Speaking of 2007,
I hated that. I hated that so much. Everybody was
feel like in my memory it is cooler than it was, but I feel like Ganon looks stupid from now that I'm thinking back to it.
I thought Link looked stupid. Link looked like
oh yeah, he looked like a yeah. I'll look it up.
Link looked like he had no eyebrows.
I don't think I got into IGN until after I graduated high school and college. So yeah, I missed that.
It was I'll find it. I'll share it with you guys. But yeah,
the world they built seemed interesting, but the characters I just like.
That's I think maybe that's why I feel like the live action versions of these characters would be stupid looking, because I remember how stupid they looked in that with big eyebrows and weirdo. I don't know, but well, we're gonna bring it to a close here soon, but not before we talk about. I think we might be kicking off a little celebration this year. Of course, we've got 35th anniversary of Zelda and Metroid and Kid Icarus and the 30th anniversary of Sonic the Hedgehog, and it's a big anniversary year. However, it's the 20th anniversary of the Game Boy Advance, and coincidentally, Mark and I both spent some time this week with the Nintendo Game Boy Advance. Mark, you jumped into Mega Man Battle Network. What got you itching to play this?
Honestly, Loop Hero.
Okay, all right. How do we connect the dots between Mega Man Battle Network and Loop Hero?
I like the idea of using cards in a game, but not a card game. Does that make sense? So, like,
yeah,
Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, okay. Well, most games with a card. Yeah, I don't know. Like, for some reason, Loop Hero was reminding me of that, and Battle Network was my first GBA game that I owned, and I remember loving that game. I never beat it. I love the concept about it so much, but like, I feel like even though I owned it, I felt like I never fully grasped it. I don't know. It was weird. So I wanted to revisit it, and holy crap, I appreciate it like way more now than I did back then. It's I don't know if it was ahead of its time when it came out because it spawned like 6 sequels. But the idea of that game, like its concept, I think, and I know like Star Force kind of like evolved from that. But just Battle Network itself, like if that came out for the first time like this year, and nothing changed, yeah, it probably would have felt a little dated. But at the same time, like everything in that world is like a smart device that you can put your Mega Man into, and you can kind of see the inner workings of these things and get rid of viruses and all that. Like it's such a cool like. For anyone that hasn't played it. You take the role of this kid. He's like a 5th grader.
You don't play as Mega Man in this, right?
Like, yes and no. Like, the main character, his name is Lan. Everybody has old computer names as characters for the most part. But everybody has their own little device known as a PET. And this device can jack into any objects with their own personal NetNavi. And Lan's is Mega Man. Or Megaman.exe is his full name. And so you go around fighting viruses, but the way you fight them, that battle system, you each have your own 3x3 grid, and you move on that, and you can only equip certain chips for so you have your buster at all times. You can just pew 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 enemies, but it doesn't do a lot at first, and you have to upgrade that over time. But you have chips on top of that kind of switch everything up on how you approach these attacks, and only certain enemies can be hit certain ways. So it's definitely strategic in that sense, but you can move and, you shift between the squares in real time. So you're kind of throwing this all together. And it's that, but it just, go along with the typical story. It's cool seeing like a classic Mega Man being brought into modern times. So, like all the enemies are now like, how you see them as a net navi. Wily is now part of this evil organization known as like the WWW, and there's viruses going around and, hacking over everything. And it's just cool just seeing that unfold and seeing these characters brought back to life in different ways. But, I don't just like, and I think it's from, I think this is one of Inafune's projects, because there is some Mega Man Legends like posters and like Easter eggs throughout the whole thing. Like your character's bedroom, it's like a Servbot carpet in his room and everything. Everything is like when you're Land running around the world, everything is like an isometric view, and you just run around and talk to everybody. Very small town. He has rollerblades, so you can sprint everywhere or roll around basically. And then when you're Mega Man inside of these things, it's cool how creative. Everything that you jack into has its own like GeoCities, like Angel Fire looking like theme to like all their things. So like let's say you're visiting your pal Mail. I think that's how you say your name, Myal. And let's say you go to her house. She has a piano. Her piano apparently has a port to jack into. So you jack Mega Man into the piano, and now you see in the background, it's like these little like just animated little music notes that look like they're like 32-bit, like low res, just spinning around. And I don't know, it was cool to see different versions with each character have their own personalities translated through the technology, and like vice versa. And I don't know what it is with me and like old games. Like as I'm playing a game, it's like when I play for the first time, I'm playing it, but I don't fully absorb everything. I'm just kind of going through the motions. I'm just, all right, I did that, but I don't retain anything for some reason. And then I think about it, and like it takes time, and then like the second time around, it's like, all right, now I'm really absorbing everything about this game, and like the music, the story's a little, you're like your typical, like shonen anime kind of thing in a sense. And this did spawn an anime that was not that bad.
Yeah, because this is big. Like there's 6 games in this series, and they each kind of iterated and built. Like it became its own kind of Mega Man style thing. You know what I mean? Like it was not just a like, hey, here's a weird Mega Man experiment. Like it was its own kind of franchise.
And I think this series would ring more true today because of technology and everything. Like it seemed like it was kind of like foreshadowing or foretelling in a way, with like the security system in Land's house is this doghouse like in the front yard. But I don't think they don't actually have a dog, I believe. So it's just to make people think, but that's just how their security system is disguised is this doghouse, which I think could be like a nod to like Rush or something, which I thought was kind of cool. But yeah, I don't know. I love that strategy. It's like almost chess like with the way you move around, and like the way you use chips. You always have 5 at random when you first start, and depending on their letter grade. The letter grade doesn't necessarily determine if it's like bad or good. That only means what you're allowed to equip at once. If they all have the same letter, you can have as many chips, I think, as you want equipped to Mega Man, and you can use it in the order that you have equipped them. You can't really switch that around. But if you don't like your first hand, you have to fight. You have to wait for the bar to fill up to add chips again. I guess it's kind of like ATB-ish. And now you'll have more to choose from. I think you have 3 or 5 rows of chips to choose from if you choose to not take anything for that amount of turns. So you do have to survive fighting whatever you're fighting in that time. And in each boss you fight, obviously has their own pattern and the way they attack and everything. And once you defeat the enemy, like Mega Man, you do absorb their abilities, whether it's like a chip that you get or like his armor might change, and that will change the whole layout. The more this game evolves throughout the series, the more Mega Man literally evolves, and the way you play the game evolves. I just thought that was such a cool concept that I just wanted to revisit again and actually played a whole thing through, and then that led me to like I'm still not sure how I feel about it, but I ordered a Game Boy Advance because I was playing this on an emulator. I think I do have the cartridge somewhere in the attic, believe it or not, but it might be for the second one actually, because I think my first one got lost. Anyway, I ordered a Game Boy Advance, but then I ordered this. It looks like a GBA cartridge, but it's a receiver to make the GBA itself a controller for your computer. Because I'm playing with an Xbox controller, but I don't like the feeling of that. I wanted the feel of that old Game Boy Advance. Like,
heck yeah.
I mean, the SP is superior to me because of its compact and lit screen, but my hands just could never grasp that fully just because how tiny it is. Yeah. So I wanted to do that. So I ordered that, and that was probably more than I should have paid for it. But
but then you got it, and it's there. You know what I mean? Like, I did the same thing when I got that one that I have now, but like, now I have it. And randomly this week, it's in the air. I was like, I want to play some Castlevania, and I just grabbed that thing, and I've got it. It feels good. It's the original hardware. You know what I mean? There's nothing better than that.
Yeah, but like, the only reason, but like, no other game I think would have done this for me. Like, I don't think like. That's how strong this game impacted me, and I never realized it. Like, yeah, I don't talk about it a lot, and it hasn't been in my life for a long time, but it left such an impression on me that I was willing to go out of my way to recapture that experience with a more developed mind, I hope, at this point. And just appreciate that all over again without the hassle of, like, trying to be near a light source and aim the screen. And I don't know. I don't know. It feels right to play it like this. I mean, if I had my DS Lite, I'd probably be playing it that way. Like, that would be cool too. But
these were re-released on Wii U Virtual Console. Do you think that there's room for them to do a Battle Network collection in the way they've done like the Mega Man, the other collections?
I feel that is the next step. I think like everybody's kind of feeling like that's what's going to happen, especially after Mega Man Zero. So it's like,
because that was only a year ago, that Zero collection, right?
Right, and that's all Game Boy Advance games. Like,
yeah,
I mean, they did that on DS originally, and then they ported that to everywhere else. And you know, they did classic Mega Man for a while. Mega Man X, I thought was never going to happen, and then they did that. Then Mega Man Zero, I thought was never going to happen, and they did that.
Yes,
and Zero also includes the DS games, ZX and ZX Advent.
Right. So there's no reason why they couldn't.
So yeah, I think Capcom is really good with preserving most of their history while ignoring some others, Darkstalkers. But as far as Mega Man goes, I think they want it all out there as much as they can, and this seems like the next logical step if they're going to do a collection. But if that does happen, this is another one I don't want people to sleep on.
Now you got me curious.
Them chips, man. So, they actually made a game that is just all competitive battling. Like, there's no story. It's just like a tournament. And they did the Pokemon thing with the later sequels where there's two versions and they have different characters in them and stuff like that.
Yeah. All right. We're not quite there. 94 was the release of Darkstalkers. So there's no clean year right now for them to do an anniversary collection the way they did with like Street Fighter 30 or something like that, but yeah, I wonder. Well, I won't spend too long on Aria of Sorrow because I feel like we talked about it some years ago when Matt first played through it on that Wii U Virtual Console, but I've been playing a bunch of Bloodlines, which is on the Genesis Mini and is in that Castlevania collection that M2 put out for, I mean, everything. All those little anniversary collection things that Konami actually did a pretty good job with. And playing through that, I was like, man, I never finished Aria. I know everything about Aria. I remember it, but like I don't think I finished that one, and I don't remember Dawn of Sorrow. Like, I remember them, but not whatever. So I grabbed my GBA, the one that we did the backlight mod on the screen, and then I have the dual cart that came with Harmony of Dissonance and Aria of Sorrow in one cart. and I've been playing that. It's been like kind of the only thing I've played outside of Loop Hero this week. And when I started it up, I had a save from when I first bought the cart, like no longer than that, probably like 8 or 9 years ago. And the save was like an hour in with 15% done, and now I'm like a couple hours. I'm like 50% map completion, which I think this one also has some goofy inverted castle or second castle. So it has something, I'm pretty sure. But I'm slowly like upgrading Soma's powers and revealing a little bit more of the story. And like I mentioned at the top of the show when we talked about Loop Hero, like the exciting bit you get where you're like, what do you do when you see a new monster come at you? Like it's still fun to explore that. And this game, I feel like more than, I just tried to replay Bloodstained Ritual of the Night on Xbox One. And I really liked that game when I played it, but going back to it, maybe it's because my memories of it were of the end of Bloodstained and not the beginning of it, but the beginning of that game feels really heavy and really slow in a way that I don't think the old Castlevanias felt. And again, maybe that's just my memory of playing Symphony where I'm already leveled up or playing any of these other ones, but jumping into Aria of Sorrow, like I immediately feel good running around as Soma in this castle. And as you acquire the different souls that you can swap out, where you're giving him his different secondary weapons, I thought that was it's still like the origins of the shard system that we'd later see in Bloodstained, but it's also like a subversion of the sub-weapon system that I think changed the Castlevania stuff for the better in a way, because you could change on the fly, you could customize it to what you wanted. I think Symphony of the Night was the first step in the right direction, where when you pick up a sub-weapon that overwrites your other one, you have a couple seconds to pick it up if you made a mistake. But this kind of takes it a step further and lets you kind of really play the game how you want to. And it's cool playing through one of those games. It's still the same thing. One of the problems I'm having with Aria is a lot of dead ends in this castle, where like you kind of find a new path, you get to the end of it, and it's like, ooh, what am I going to get? $1 coin. Like there's a lot of that stuff. But the music's great. Like the music, it sounds so good even on original hardware that's like all chunky and gross sounding, but it's still I don't know, it's coming through loudly enough and in a nice way. I don't know, that GBA still holds up 20 years later, and I think that's the most impressive thing to me this week is, you look back at the launch lineup for GBA, both in Japan and in North America, and they had some good games at the start, and I think that platform is just GBA has something special to it. When you look, like there's so many games, so many licensed games, so many bad games, so many whatever, but like there's something about GBA that just, it brought SNES style graphics to your hands. This is in a time where emulation was not regularly easy or even properly and officially done by the console platform holders, right? Like the fact that we talked about earlier, like we can jump on the Switch and play through libraries of these classic games. You really couldn't do anything like that back then from any of these companies. And playing old games was something more of an Easter egg. But the GBA let you go out and buy carts that let you play Metroid and Castlevania, play all those old NES games right there on the system, which was a first and a big kind of thing. I don't know, man. I miss that. I don't have to miss it. I have it, which is cool, but yeah.
I still need to play Aria. I've only played Dawn. And
it's
I think
cool,
that
man.
was
hey, you got a
Dawn,
GBA now, so
yeah. Dawn was actually my first Castlevania.
Oh wow.
And like I wasn't aware of like no, I think I was still aware of the art style. I wish Dawn kept Aria's art style instead of going for like a more mainstream like cartoon anime looking thing. It's still not bad though. Still, I love that game. The music. Soma's just such a cool character.
Yeah, I'm really coming to like him a lot. I don't have a ton of exposure because I don't think I remember those games super fun or not fondly. I just don't think I remember them well. But
that and Julius.
Yes, Mr. Belmont. Yeah. Matt, favorite GBA game? Go.
Oh God. I can't even think of one on the spot. Probably WarioWare, right?
Oh yeah,
ooh,
that's a good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Wario Land 4 is on there too.
Yeah. There's some good GBA games. I kind of fell in love with the GBA all over again last year, And that whole era, something happened last year
Dude.
where I just became 14 again. So right in that time period, I don't know.
You ever have the e-reader?
I didn't. I never owned a GBA back in the day.
Oh man, like that was something.
Yeah,
Just like on a card, and then you could play Donkey Kong Arcade on your GBA.
Yeah, that stuff, like, I missed out on all of it. I don't think, when I finally got a DS Lite is when I started going back to some of the GBA stuff. And I'd play it, like, at friends' house and stuff, but I never, like, had my own GBA. And then, did I buy... No, I think DS Lite was the only exposure to that. And then...
Can't go wrong with that.
When you guys all pitched in and got me that Game Boy Micro way back when for my birthday.
Micro.
That thing's hot. That little baby Reggie. Well, more Game Boy Advance as we move through 2021. I'm gonna keep playing some stuff. You've got me intrigued by Mega Man Battle Network now, in a way I didn't. I just didn't know what those games were really.
Yeah.
But that sounds cool.
It looks so cheesy, like from afar. To like if that's not your thing, but like that gameplay mechanic is so cool. That whole chip system.
Do you like the name Mega Man Battle Network better, or its Japanese launch name, which was Rockman.exe?
I mean, that is his name, but Battle Network just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. We're gonna roll off the tongue, get our lips wet here, and we're gonna head on out for the week. We'll be back next week with another one of these episodes. We should be able to catch up on what happened with that Japanese fighting game publishers roundtable, among some other things. You guys plan on playing anything specific between now and then?
I'll probably finish up Bowser's Fury, and then might dip into Metal Wolf Chaos finally.
Nice.
I'm gonna keep playing through Revengeance until either I complete it or get bored with it. 3D World's I'm gonna keep popping into that. I don't think I'm gonna stay in that for very long. I think it's gonna be like a little short, maybe do a world or a couple stages at a time.
Yeah.
There's some other stuff on the PlayStation, not necessarily on the PlayStation 5 that I want to get to. So maybe next week that's what will happen.
On the PlayStation?
Not the older generations of PlayStations. I guess, including but not limited to the Vita.
You've piqued my interest. I have no idea what I'm doing. Every day's a new adventure. But I'm going to keep playing some Aria of Sorrow. That'll be kind of my, like, whatever bedtime game or something. And then I started RE3 this week, but I didn't get super far in it. I started the RE7 Not a Hero stuff, and then I just wasn't in the mood for it, but I still wanted something, so I switched to RE3, and then I kind of wasn't in the mood for that, so I just turned everything off and made dinner and read comic books. I don't know. So we'll see. It's all good. You know what I mean? I just...
Mm-hmm.
You know kind of when you're in the mood for a certain type of thing, and I just wasn't.
Yeah.
So...
Vibe's gotta be right.
Huh?
The vibe's gotta be right.
Yeah. I think like middle of the day when I was listening to a podcast and people were talking about all their RE8 stuff, I was like, yeah, let me jump back in. And then that time, like it had been hours since I had that like hype feeling, and then jumping into it, I was more thinking about just going to sleep and not playing anything. So yeah, I don't know. I got some stuff. I'm going to try and see if I can get through Bloodlines. That Bloodlines is pretty fun. And Aria of Sorrow, we'll see what happens there. I've thought a lot about Balan Wonderworld, not about playing it ever again, but I've just been thinking about that game a lot, and I don't know what to do with that information. But yeah, Loop Hero, man, Loop Hero I keep coming back to, so we'll see. That is it for us. You can catch another episode, as always, next Monday. Until then, you can follow us on Twitter. The Free Cheese is at Some Free Cheese. Matt is at Matt the Ice 131. Mark is at aug_mental. Podcast at thefreecheese.com. I think I got an email about skin tags this week, so if you want to beat that, go for it. That's all I got, man. Go play Game Boy Advance. Be nice to a stranger. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, listener, for listening. Bye.